Okay, I'm about to attempt to fight a hurricane with an Archimedes. Anvil Hurricane.
Hangar 3 for the Archimedes.
Yeah. The trick with this is gonna be, I gotta be very careful.
Does he have a turret gunner?
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh boy.
That's, damn, the 890 jumps as big as fucking Grimhex.
I'll just have to make sure I play at range as long as I can. Because, like, if you look at, like, on my screen, like, I'm hitting him a little bit here. What I want to do is I want to wait for him to stop shooting. And then I might be able to, like, right here, this is a good time to push in a little bit. Oh, okay, he's reloading his guns. Oh, yeah, there we go. See, I pushed in a little bit. Got excited.
Don't make me lose 750k.
I'm not planning on losing any money today. But it is... I am playing the game of Auto-Aim Commander.
I'm putting my Archimedes on the 890.
Oh, fuck. See, as soon as I get within 500 meters, like, it's very risky, because I can't create enough deflection to get away from any kind of shots, but I am getting some damage on him here. I think he's a little worried.
I heard you say that big ships or medium fighters can benefit from speed when they are fighting. But I didn't understand, or maybe I heard this wrong. Like speed and distance to keep the opponent away, a little bit away from them.
Yeah, like, I want to get in close, but the hurricane is gonna hold me away from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the closer I get, you know, but I've got to get, like, real close if I wanna punish him. So looks like I've got some damage on him now.
Right?
Okay, here we go. So I want to get under him. Just rotating through, so... See, like, that's what's called turret pressure right now. So I just took too much turret pressure, so I had to create distance. Because the only way for me to survive is to create some kind of deflection, which means I need more range. Let's see here, he's gonna try and rotate him. Yeah, got him. And welcome back, everybody, to another lesson. Normally, I don't break down my fights to this level of detail unless I feel like there's something really important I kind of want to get across. And I can honestly say when it comes to this specific kind of fight, I really get to show the kind of key differences when it comes to engaging, because all of Star Citizen's combat really boils down to some of these core concepts here that we're talking about, right? So this picture I'm trying to illustrate here is in reference to the fight itself at certain points, like, for example, here. Now what's happening here is you'll notice the distance that I'm engaging at is around the 800 meter kind of mark. But I'm not getting really any closer than that. I'm kind of sitting at that range, and I'm making my wave pattern, rolling into my turns here, and always making sure that the direction that the fight is moving in, so in this case it's up and to the right, okay, I'm always positioning my bottom thrusters and my mains, which are my most powerful, to keep me kind of sliding into that turn, so I'm either always orbiting my enemy. Now you'll notice here I get a little too close, right? And I take a few shots and I kind of take a step back, right? Because what's happening is I'm trying to shoot in for a better position. In reality, the turret's still going to be able to get its weapons onto you, but what's happening is we're allowing ourselves to gain some kind of positional advantage. So we're taking away the 2 forward-facing size 4 guns, which does help, and we're also putting him in a disadvantageous position because he can't see me. He's got to keep looking behind him to kind of see what's going on. So this is a better position to be in. Plus, There was a point during the fight where I was actually able to go underneath and take away even his ability to fire his turret. And now with the desync changes the way they are, we can actually gain a relative positional advantage. And what we're seeing does represent pretty closely where the ship is pointing and how it's orientated. Obviously, the issue with the gunnery and the weapons being on target is a different issue, but the positional representation is really what we're looking at here. Now, I want to explain something as clear as day. The blue circle represents the effective engagement distance that I, in the fighter that I'm currently in, relative to my enemy fighter and his weapons, which is about 600 meters, right? The Hurricane with velocity high weapons like repeaters, because the Hurricane has a physically larger profile and it has less maneuverability, its ability to shake damage is much less than the ability of the Archimedes. The Archimedes, at the ranges that I'm showing here, essentially becomes unhittable because it's outside of the effective range that the Hurricane is able to apply damage. So what that means is, even though you might have auto-aim weapons which never miss, the point I'm trying to drive home here is, in a very tiny ship like the Archimedes, if you maintain the range that you're looking at and you can stay just outside of 600 meters and shorter than 900, then it means that what you can do is you can effectively shoot your enemy target with impunity, as long as you're adding in some small S-turns, as long as you're keeping the range control, as long as you're slowly kind of orbiting your enemy and making sure that when he does try to kind of take a dive towards you, you're either distance controlling him, or you're creating an extension, or, you know, just plain and simple, just keeping the distance on him. These small things is really what leads to victory. And when it comes to very tiny fighters like the Archimedes, you know, this is a core concept that everyone needs to kind of wrap their heads around. No matter what happens to the flight model, no matter what happens to the flight, like the flying or the tuning balance or anything, physically small fighters have a massive advantage over like larger fighters, just because the engagement distance is so much more controllable with a small fighter, which means you're just not going to take any hits, because as long as you can be outside of the effective range of the enemy that's engaging you, you can essentially live forever, right? So whether it's a Hurricane with, you know, 5 times the DPS plus a, you know, plus a man turret, plus size 2 shields, and all these great things on paper, you know, what it really comes down to is on the battlefield negotiation, you know? And when I say battlefield negotiation, it's I get to dictate when and where the fight takes place in the Archimedes. The Archimedes gets to choose when and where specifically in the battlefield it wants to fight. So if it wants to fight you at about 800 meters, it's very difficult to slingshot or create a closing of distance between something like an Archimedes if you're in a Hurricane. Now, there are ways to do this. There are ways to close the distance in a Hurricane, but you can't consistently, and I'll say that again, you cannot consistently hold distance against something like an Archimedes, because the Archimedes is just simply more maneuverable, right? And this concept is everything. It's all relative. It's all relative. If this was a Constellation versus an 890 jump, it's the same concept. The Constellation is massively smaller compared to the 890 jump, and the velocity, the projectiles are only so fast. So what ends up happening is the Constellation, as long as it finds that its magical range between where it can apply damage to the 890 and where the 890 cannot apply damage to him, then you win the fight. End of story. As long as you can maintain the pilot control to stay inside that zone, you have the kill. Okay? So this is a good illustration, guys. It was a great fight. I mean, the Hurricane pilot did the best he could, right? There's some opportunities that he couldn't capitalize on because he's a little bit too out of position. You can see that his bottom thrusters weren't really pulling him into the turns as he should be. He was using too much of his top and side thrusters, which caused him to kind of slide a bit too much into some of these turns. And because he slided too much in some of these turns and I was able to capitalize on it, I was able to maintain the distance I needed the entire fight, and thus allowing us to slowly death by 1,000 cuts, right? All right, guys, I know this was a bit of a longer video and a little bit dry at the end here, but these are really important concepts, because this right here is the core of understanding how to compete. Because whether it's this patch or 3.15, 3.16, 3.17, 3.18, 3.19, who knows? The core mechanics of space combat are true whether you're playing Star Citizen or who knows what happens with Space Force and the rest of humanity as we move forward. You know, these are just basics, you know, velocity, time, distance, spatial awareness, understanding physical profile size. These things are what matters, right? It's easy to hit something that's large. It's very hard to hit something that's small, right? All right, guys, take a look at Predator mounts, and also, guys, take a look at some more YouTube videos. I have so many videos on this channel now, and it's all because of you folks who've been supporting the stream. If there's questions you have, if there's ships you want to see, feel free to go take a look at these videos. I have so many, so click the links here that you see popping up on the screen if you guys want to see some more crazy content when it comes to PvP to get the most out of your Star Citizen experience and become the best pilot you can possibly be. I was Avenger 1. And I'll see you next time.